getting into our last batch of Big 12 Mojo rankings. Intended these for last week to just kind of wrap up the regular season, even with the one game to play. But just could not be here health-wise. So finally here and able to roll these on out. And I got to tell you, with all the stuff that's happened, like Iowa State's lost a coach and Sam Leavitt's officially gone. And so this is kind of like put together based on, yes, the results as always and the mojo, but the mojo's like fluctuated wildly for like the last several days. So what looked like it was going to be kind of a clean cut, like barely any movement, right? Just like kind of deciding who between BYU and Texas Tech would finish number one. Now it's just like all over the place. So I'm going to try to be as logical as I can with something that is very subjective to begin with. But here we go. Let's roll out the bottom four and let's just get into it. And bang, you guys have been asking for it. And in light of a new AD hire, maybe they shouldn't drop all the way. But you know what? That's not enough to overcome the mojo entering the offseason. And I don't think there's any program, no matter what the win-loss records look like, that has less mojo right now than the Baylor Bears. Like, I think from a wins-losses standpoint, no, they're not at the bottom of the standings, but this is the Mojo ranking, so it's not based just entirely on your wins and losses, because that would just be your standings or basically what becomes your power ranking. This is about the total picture, and they filled a big blank there with the hiring of Doug McNamee, but it is a very uncertain hire how it's going to work out. Like, this is a total gamble on their part, and even a fan base that can typically kind of go along with things or is just happy to have some good news. Like, thank God we just hired an athletic director. I've seen plenty of fans that are like, I don't know. This is kind of a risk here. So time will tell ultimately, but finished with an absolute thud against Houston, declined the bowl game. Players already getting skimmed off the roster. You have Matthew Powledge leaving. There's just so many questions and just so much going on right now. They at least got their athletic director in place, but for the meantime, they have the least mojo of anybody, I feel like, right now.
He's only had the job for 3 days,
right?
Like, officially.
He can't flip them that quickly.
It's not like, and Doug knows that. Like, Doug knows that, like, the especially when it comes to football, the mojo is low. And so that's why he has this job. I mean, bottom line, because they think he can get that up. And I think part of it is with the Baylor fans nervous about it, and I understand that, but like, Doug's lived here for a long time, so I think a lot of people, like, they don't want you to hire somebody they know, even if they like them, because especially when it comes to sports, I want you to hire somebody from somewhere else that's gonna be like, whoa, this guy was at this bigger school, and now he's gonna bring that expertise to here. I think that's the biggest thing, because Doug didn't win the press conference as far as a name, because he's always just been here. So I think that that's part of it with some fans that weren't just wowed.
Yeah, there's some that want to keep it inside the family, so to speak, which can be maybe a positive, and it also can be a set of eyes that maybe is too close. I was having breakfast today with a guy that's he's a very good friend of Doug McNamee, but I was having breakfast with him. A guy walks up to say hi to him. He goes, "So, what do you guys think about the AD hire?" And it wasn't as if you could tell he was all that impressed. Well, the guy, Brian, I was having breakfast with, said, "Well, he's a very good friend of mine. I think it's a great hire, and here's why." And he started listed off some reasons. But that job has been filled. Not everybody is yet on board with it.
No, and so my point here is that that's at least a positive, but without that, there is nothing else. Like, there is like, you filled a job. We'll see how that goes. But other than that, there is nothing else that you're really kind of rolling the banners out for right now. So I think in terms of the present, the recent past, and the future, nobody feels more kind of lost right now than Baylor football does. Colorado stays at 15, 5 consecutive losses to end the season, no bowl game, 1-8 record in the Big 12. And Deion's back, so there is that. But I think even the mojo sort of surrounding him, like, it's all focused on Cleveland and Shador, and like, some of that can rub off on your program, but it's not rubbing off on Colorado in any way right now. And so they just stay where they are. No reason to move them. UCF, kind of the same thing. I mean, they've got a lot of things to figure out in the offseason. I think they are still very much a fan base that some were never in on Scott Frost Part 2 to begin with, but at least there were some that were open-minded. And I think those open-minded people still don't know quite where to put both feet in just yet, because of the way the season went. There are plenty of reasons to believe, like, this is not going to be good ultimately overall. and you might be looking for another coach in a couple of years. And there's also plenty of reason to believe of like, no, there's a couple signs of like, okay, like it's not going to be a quick ascent, but you can go add some talent this offseason and move up a little bit. So we stay with UCF there at number 14. And Oklahoma State, look, they've lost a billion consecutive Big 12 games. It's been just absolutely awful stuff for them for going on a couple of years now. But they aren't that far off from Ollie Gordon winning a Doak Walker Award and playing for back-to-back Big 12 titles. And now this influx of energy and positivity with the hire of Eric Morris, that alone bumps them up and gives them some buzz and excitement entering this offseason. If this was just pure wins and losses, obviously they'd be where they were throughout the entire season at number 16. But in terms of mojo, they actually have some for the first time in a long time, and we'll see what Eric Morris can do with that. But unlike the other three where it's like put up or shut up for Deion, Scott Frost, like, go prove it, and Baylor, do something. Like, figure your situation out. I think Oklahoma State has a path that's going upwards for at least right now that they can be excited about. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. For Colorado, I love the Brennan Marion hire at offensive coordinator.
Yes, I should have mentioned that, yeah.
I love it. I think that's great. I think that he's going to bring some real innovation to that offense, and it's outside – Brennan Marion is outside of Deion's buddy hires. Mm-hmm. You know, and look, Deion has a lot of, like, it'd be hard not to be a buddy hire for Deion because he has great relationships inside the football world. So he's played a lot of places. He's been a lot of places. Everybody knows Deion. So it's hard not to have that. But I do think that as you approach this next step of life without the first wave, it is good to get a guy who is so up and coming and talented as a coach like Brennan Marion.
And maybe that should have pushed them over UCF for like 14, the Brennan Marion hire, perhaps. You could argue that, but it was 104-degree fever doing this. No, I'm just kidding. No. But no, I mean, that's a good thing to point out, and that does give them a little bit of juice that I probably didn't factor in enough for Colorado. So maybe in flipping this around, they're 14 rather than 15. All right, to the next batch of group of schools here. There's KU. I mean, they're just sort of there, guys. Like, they're just kind of there. And fill in any blanks, because I've tried to follow the news cycle for the last week, but there's also a lot that I'm sure I've missed out on. But Kansas, they're kind of just the boat's drifting, and you don't know if it's about to go off Niagara Falls or if it's got a steady little path down a stream where it's going to just keep doing what it's doing. But there's not a lot of excitement there right now. That's for sure. Cincinnati, not closing out on a very hot run, and now lots of rumors about Brendan Sorsby and how much of a commodity he will be in the transfer portal coming up here over the next few weeks. A team that once again failed to finish strong, losing 4 straight games and going from being a Big 12 contender to basically just finishing 5-4 in the Big 12 and right in the middle of the pack. So what looked like it had the chance to be a really standout type of a year ended up being just a pretty good year overall. So we'll see how they do, moving forward in the bowl game and whatnot, but have them at number 11 just because of the way the season just was going downward. West Virginia, now standings-wise, they should be more towards the bottom, but I feel like they've at least got some excitement building of all of the new signees on like 40-plus guys. I mean, you look at their breakdown for their roster, it's like 2 quarterbacks, it's like 11 wide receivers. It's like 11 defensive backs, 7 wide receivers, 8 offensive linemen. Like, it's crazy the amount of new players that they're going to be bringing in. So there's at least that freshness and that newness of, all right, now Rich Rod can flip this thing more to his liking, and he'll have more options everywhere to play around with. And I think, unlike UCF, where they're still like, I don't know about this part 2 thing, I think WVU fans feel like, no, we're in good hands. We made the right call at the right time. Plus, Ren Baker decides to stick around when he could have very much come to Waco. Yep. He stays there, which says a lot about that job and the job he's doing there. So West Virginia at number 10, up just a spot, because I think that the wins and losses are going to matter starting next year. But while they weren't great, there's at least some signs of the stock pointing up right now in Morgantown. And then Iowa State.
Well, they also, didn't they flip a guy on National Signing Day that was a high running back, like a 4 or 5 star?
They might. I mean, you're getting me into the weeds, but I think they did.
That excited everybody.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, I don't have every little detail memorized, but I think you're right on that. And they did have a very good signing class that ranked highly in the Big 12 and nationally. It was like a top 20, 25-ish class. So, I mean, that's also something I did take into account for them moving forward. And then Iowa State, You lose Matt Campbell. I mean, maybe you could have dropped him to 16th, but they reacted so quickly in hiring Jimmy Rogers, and we'll see how it works out for them ultimately. But an 8-4 year, you won 3 games to close the season, but man, that's Matt Campbell's program, and for him to be plucked out of there, that's going to drop you a bit when it comes to the mojo for sure.
Yeah, and I think Jimmy Rogers will probably be pretty good there. But again, everything is an uphill climb when it comes to taking over your job. For West Virginia compared to UCF, I think part of the thing is that West Virginia fans can feel Rich Rodriguez's excitement, and because he is so boisterous, and Scott Frost is not. I mean, he's very chill. He's very
low key.
Very low key. So he might feel the same way that Rich Rodriguez does inwardly, but outwardly, Rich Rodriguez is, go Mountaineers.
Let's go ears versus let's go ears.
Yeah, it's like, and Scott Frost is like just really happy to be back here and thrilled. This is great for my family. And that's all. Like, no one style is better than another. The styles that work are the styles that win. But I do think that like the outward, like just exuberance of Rich Rodriguez gives their fans a little bit more excitement because they're like, man, this guy has not lost a beat when it comes to being happy to be here.
And so on that point,
there's hope. There's hope.
Yeah, there's hope there. And so on that point, this isn't the final standings. It's the final standings. It's the past couple of weeks, and it's the way you find yourself here at the end of the season. And I feel like this is something we'll revisit in the springtime and have like the spring version 3 months later of what everything looks like once the portal settles in, and then like a midsummer check-in, and then get back to like the regular weekly thing. So this is this early postseason bowl season, kind of where I find these teams situated, moving into the bowls and then into the offseason. And maybe we do one after the bowl games are over with, because obviously that could affect some things as well. On to the next batch as we roll on along here. Kansas State up 2. Now you would think, well, they lost a coach, but they love the new coach way more than they miss the old coach, I think is fair to say. And I think Kansas State showed some fight there at the end of the year, won their final game, had the option to go to a bowl game, obviously decided not to do so with the Kleiman news, but you turn around and you hire Colin Klein. So what was a pretty miserable season, a very bah humbug type of season for Kansas State at this point now where we find ourselves today is a very exciting offseason and a very exciting future and some mojo being built, because now it's the Colin Klein era. If Chris Kleiman had left or had stayed, then I think they're probably down at 10 or 11, somewhere like that. But the fact that he left, they filled it with who they filled it with. That to me put Kansas State in the mojo rankings at least up just a little bit. And then the number 7, Arizona State. And I feel like I probably dropped them a little bit too low in looking at it right now. This was based off of Sam Leavitt and just kind of all the uncertainty surrounding that. But I just got done talking about Kenny Dillingham, and as I'm talking this out and knew this segment was coming, I was like, I think I might have dropped Arizona State a little bit too low. Like, I think maybe over the Leavitt thing, I drop them like 2 spots, not 3, quite frankly. So that one, I'm not sold on that, and I could be talked out of that being maybe a little bit too low. But I do think Kenny Dillingham will find a great quarterback, and they will ramp right back up.
He already
this
said
thing.
that too.
Yeah, I mean, and he will, and he'll go find somebody who's great. So Arizona State, I don't love my ranking there, but it's kind of hard to gauge these things when so many different things are being taken into account. And that Leavitt news, just as far as the mojo goes, it was a bit of a hit. TCU losing Kendall Briles, guys, it looks like, to South Carolina, but their fan base is actually like, do you need help packing your bags, Kendall? We will be more than happy to help you out of here.
The reaction was very, very much leaning towards see you.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised to see that a little bit. And then again, there's plenty that were never on board with him to begin with. And this is a team that maybe you'd have Arizona State still over now that I'm looking at this and playing it all out. But won a couple of games to close the year, 8-4 overall, a good season for them. So I don't think there's any problem with TCU being a top 6 team as we enter bowl season here for the Big 12, because that's, if you look at overall records, basically what they were just on the cusp of being. So again, it all kind of jumbles together. Houston up 3 spots. You signed the big 5-star, man. You got your big time quarterback there and Keyshawn Henderson. You win 9 football games. And you're going to be going bowling, and I think it's a crucial time for a program, for as many as want to kind of throw things away. That's crucial for a program like Houston, where they're not it still feels like they're somewhat of a college football team and not like the big business that college football is. Now they still have some things that are big business they're going to have to deal with, including holding off every suitor for Keyshawn Henderson.
Right.
But they got him. They've hired Michael Bishop now, which brings the whole Willie Fritz Bishop's story full circle. You won your final game against Baylor. So, yeah, you're going into the bowl season and feeling strong about things. And I think you're excited about the direction of everything right now. And Garrett, how excited are you about? I mean, this is like your two worlds colliding, Houston and LSU playing down in the Texas Bowl. Are you going to be there?
I want to go to this. I'm not going to be able to make it down there. I'm really fascinated about how this game turns out. Looking at LSU's roster, you have so many people who are opting out of this game. Frank Wilson's going to be coaching. Yeah, Frank Wilson's going to be coaching. Lane Kiffin wants no part of it. And then if you look on the other side, Willie Fritz is like, we have nobody opting out.
Yeah.
Connor Wigman's coming back. You're in H-Town. I think this is a really pivotal game, and Houston can – I think Houston can make it interesting. I don't think they can necessarily beat LSU. And I made the comparison because I think defensive wise, LSU and Texas Tech are the best two teams they've matched up with as far as like skill positions. So I'm interested to see how that challenge goes. I think LSU gets the win, but you also got to think 2027, they open the season up against each other again. So that's also going to be fascinating.
Did not realize that.
Yeah, so they're going to play here, and then you open the season up in Houston next year. So there's so much going on here, and if Houston can get this win, the momentum that you can carry over into next season is unreal, dude.
Yeah, they have a lot working right now, and if they go beat LSU, then you turn that into it's a 10-win season, 5-star quarterback. Like things are just rolling on along there for Fritz and the Cougs. All right, to the top 4 now, and shouldn't be too hard to kind of shake this up, at least as far as the top 3. But Arizona, man, give Arizona their flowers, dude.
9-3, baby.
Yeah.
9-3. You know what? There's one thing, like if we ever do a segment of things you were most wrong about throughout the season, which for me, it's like a 10-second video. But no, in all seriousness, that BYU choke. I was not in love with Brent Brennan after that game. And you could see it if you go back and watch the tape. Tell me I'm lying. But in the fourth quarter, he's like, come on, guys. And he's fired up. And his team looks like they have no pulse whatsoever. And I just was in that moment. And then they lose that game. And I was just like, dude, they like this guy? Like, I really don't. Like, they're not fired up at all in the heat of this battle against this great team. And then they let it slip away. And then all they proceeded to really do after that is go and just be really good week in and week out. And they just kind of kept winning games. And people sort of took notice, but not really. And they lost that BYU game, then lost to Houston in a very close game, a game they could have won. And just like the BYU game, guys, they're not far off from being like freaking 10-2 or 11-1 in all seriousness. Like the only game that was out of bounds for them was they got crushed by Iowa State early on in Ames. But other than that, they should have won that BYU game. And that Houston game, Garrett, they could have won that game, right? I mean, that was very much for the taking. So you're looking at like a legit 11-1 team possibly. Now, they're going to lose Noah Fafita. That's going to take some heart out, and they'll be demoted for that maybe depending on who they replace him with at a different time. But give Arizona their flowers. 9-3, easily could have been 10 or 11 wins, closed out with 5 consecutive wins, and just feeling like a team that felt good about who they are and where they are and not having to deal with all this other nonsense that's kind of been going around. So for that reason, they jump up a spot, and then the top 3 pretty much been the top 3 for the last like 6 weeks or so. Utah, with their new private money, I did not bump them up for that just because, well, BYU's got plenty of money and Texas Tech has plenty of money. So it's not like they're winning the money game all of a sudden, but that was an interesting story to come across. A really strong year for them, but just not quite as good of a year as it was for BYU and Texas Tech. And obviously very easy to decide between those two because we've got 2 very prominent examples of head-to-head, and one just last weekend that gives you the crown, the trophy, and the stack of cash and the cowboy hat there to the Texas Tech Red Raiders over the BYU Cougars for that number 1 spot. So this is the season. This is the last couple of weeks, and this is where the mojo is for these programs in the Big 12, accumulating all of that together, and now as we enter bowl season. So we will revisit this like in February or something, or March when spring ball rolls around, and see where we are then, because best believe something's going to change for most, if not everybody here.
The